This new facility is definitely going to be state of art. It's going to be something that I call it a Taj Mahal. It's going to be something that your eyes want to see. Matter of fact, I was there out at the site today, and just the amount of work that has already been done to get that site cleared and to get the groundwork done, the prep work, and the amount of dirt that is being moved. When that facility is completed, I think the community, I think even county, city, regional, state are going to rave about what our students have and the opportunities that our students have to be educated in a facility that can allow them to just branch and do great things and be very innovative and creative. That's what that building is going to do. It's a building with no limit. It has walls, but it has no limits. And so when you have the resource like this facility is going to be, then we can definitely provide a greater education for our students. And so I'm just excited about the possibility. You know, we want a quality building. We want one that's going to be structurally sound, and we think we have the architects and the construction managers and the contractors to ensure that is the case, because it will be there for several more years. But we wanted to maintain it as a state-of-the-art facility for the next 50 years.
Greetings, this is the Get To Free Press, and I'm George Foster Rhines. The next short video that you watch is only excerpts in order to show that the people here in Valdosta, Lowndes County, in the state of Georgia, does not have a free press or television station or radio that will report the truth in the black African American communities. The video that you watch with Reverend Floyd E. Rose is a video that I clipped just to let you see a little bit of what took place at a public meeting at the School Board of Education, and yet the beef of what took place at that meeting was ignored by all television stations, radio stations, and newspapers. And you do have a right to know.
It won't be this way. I hope it won't be this way. I hope it won't be this way. Always. I hope it won't be this way. I'm praying for a brighter day. I hope it won't be this way. Always. Lord, make our world a peaceful place, the way you want it to be. Every woman and man, boy and girl, relieve us of all our sorrow, bring our loved ones home, and give us strength for tomorrow, and never, never leave us alone. Oh, now I know it won't be this way. Oh, Lord, I know it won't be this way. Thank you, Jesus. I know it won't be this way. Always. Oh, I know it won't be this way. Oh, no, no, I'm praying for a piece of faith. Then I know it won't be this way. Always.
What do you think, who do you think has the power to break this system? And what do you think needs to be done? Like, who needs to be uniting together, you know?
Thank you very much. You are really nice and you are powerful. That is a powerful question. What could bring about that change is, as I said, if the football games were interrupted.
And I want you all to know that don't think it's strange when you would have people to stand before the people here in Valdosta and Lowndes County at a public meeting, and the newspaper and the television stations will not even report what happens at a public meeting in the state of Georgia. Don't let that surprise you. Right now, I'm covering approximately 16 cities and counties, and this is nothing new. And the strange thing about it, my brothers and sisters, is that the same newspaper, not this one, but a lot of the same newspapers are owned by the same political persuasion. And so what you're getting is what they want you to have, excluding the black news that concern you, your mother, your father, and your children's destiny. And we have, as black Americans, nobody to blame but ourselves. Now, I just bought $5 worth of this newspaper this morning because I wanted some extra copies to send to my friends outside of Lowndes County to make my point that what these black Americans spoke at a public meeting after the meeting adjourned is not included. It's not on your TV channels here in South Georgia. So it is as if though a tree fell in the forest, and then they tell us that the forest did not fall. I mean, that there is no forest, and that the tree did not fall in the forest because the forest don't exist. Yet we know that we produce children, and we know that the children are caught up in the forest of poverty, and we know that they were sitting beneath the tree, and that they bear the scars of the tree that fell in the forest. Yet they tell us that what took place at this meeting is in the newspaper. So when you think that the Valdosta Daily Times is giving you the rest of the story, after the meeting adjourned, you got another thing coming. Now, if I am telling a lie, let me just say it again. If I am telling a lie, words, statements that I cannot prove, then I need to be called on the carpet. I need to be set down on television or set down before this camera, before those who are responsible for keeping the general public informed, especially about the money and the political aspirations of our active duty and retired disabled veterans who may want to run for public office. Look, if they don't know what happened because there is no news media outlets under the name of a free press in Georgia or in Lowndes County that will keep us educated, then we will remain deaf, dumb, and blind to the times and unable to make intelligent decisions based on facts. But somebody is going to church. Somebody is going to mosque. Somebody is going to synagogue. Somebody is going to temples. But if you don't go to your public meetings and find out what is going on, because the newspapers and the television stations discovered during the civil rights movement that there will never be a full-fledged civil rights movement again, because they are going to ensure that the general public will never be educated again. So those who control the television, the newspaper, the radio, and the internet, they say, never again will we report the truth to the people of America. We want them deaf, dumb, and blind to the times so we can control them. So they will never know about those of us who are in the clique and among the slicks. But according to the volume of sacred law, St. John 8:32, which says, "And ye shall know the truth, and that the truth shall set and make you free." Galatians 6:7 says, "For God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man sow, that shall he also reap." And the 133rd Psalm says, "Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. For it is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessings, even life forevermore." In closing, these are my last remarks. To my black brothers, to my black sisters, and to all black children, may I give you a piece of advice? Don't you dislike white folk. Don't hate white folk. White folk was fighting for me, you, and your children before we knew what the fight was all about here in North America.
This new facility is definitely going to be state of the art. It's going to be something that I call it a Taj Mahal. It's going to be something that your eyes want to see. Matter of fact, I was there out at the site today, and just the amount of work that has already been done to get that site cleared and to get the groundwork done, the prep work, and the amount of dirt that is being moved. When that facility is complete, I think the community, I think even county, city, regional, state are going to rave about what our students have.
This time we have listed Pastor Floyd Rose, black unemployment. Next will be Darren Neal, and then after Pastor Neal will be John Robinson.
Thank you very much, Dr. Keeson. When my little boy was in his bassinet one night, asleep, he woke up and he started crying. My wife punched me in my side and said, "Floyd, the baby's crying and it's your time." I pulled the cover back, got up, turned on the light, and I walked over to the bassinet and and I leaned over and asked him what was wrong with him, as if he could tell me. And he just kept crying. I checked his diaper and it was dry, but he kept crying. I turned the light back off and got back in the bed, and my wife punched me in the side again and said, "Floyd, he's still crying." I said, "Well, I don't know what's wrong. What did you see about it?" So she got up, and as only a mother could do, she took Billy's Saul in her arms and placed him gently on her left shoulder and jumped him. But the more she jumped him, the more he cried, and that cry eventually became a scream. And then she took him down, set him on the foot of the bed, and checked his diaper. It was dry. But then she discovered that there was an open pin sticking in his little side. We learned that night that Billy didn't want to cry any more than we wanted to hear him cry. He didn't want to disturb his mama and daddy any more than we wanted to be disturbed. But he was hurt. And he had no other way to tell us he was hurt but to cry. The crimes that frighten all of us, breaking and entering, mugging old people, robberies, crimes that frighten all of us are being committed in this community. The people that frighten us are crying. They're crying because they don't have jobs. They're unemployed. And those who have jobs have minimum wage jobs, and they can't take care of themselves or their families. And we all know that. Neil and I went out to the job site. We've been told repeatedly that they're hot, and all we need to do is just go out there. Well, I went out there 2 days ago. There was an officer there, and we drove right past him and went all the way to the back, and we found 2 men who said that they were in charge of the work site, but they didn't have any jobs. And I said, well, I was told that if black folk just came out here, they could get work. He said that there was no work to be had. Now, I really don't understand that, I'll be honest with you. I don't understand that. This board made a commitment to this community that the people who live in this county would get first, would get jobs first. Well, as it turned out, if you look at the record, most of all of this work, most all of the contractors are not from Lowndes County or Valdosta. They're from Macon, they're from Atlanta, they're from Fayetteville, and other places outside of this county. And according to my figures, nearly 60, perhaps 70% of the work is not being done by local contractors. There have been 2 black men in my office this last week. One of them said that they were told that he was told that he had the lowest bid, but he still didn't get the job. Another young man said that his understanding was that most of the work that he was doing was to pay at least $18 an hour. He was getting only $12 an hour. Now, listen, we've been straight with you all. I have written to Mr. Sherwood, never heard from him.
Counsel, excuse me, your 5 minutes.
I understand that, but I'm not going to quit. You do whatever you have to do. If you need to arrest me, you do that, but I know we're through tonight.
Well, let me ask the board, you
So to them.
Pastor Rose, your time.
Let him
Thank you, sir. So we don't know what else to do. Now, we begged, we pleaded. We have not conducted any demonstrations because we wanted to believe that you were going to be straight with us because we've been straight with you. But somewhere down the line, we've been lied to over and over and over again. And you just can't expect us to keep going this way. And I'm going to tell you tonight that we're not going to do it. We're just not going to do it. And Brother Neil is going to come. He was with me when we went out. He is the lead investigator and the assistant to the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. I think he's scheduled to speak next.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for your time.
You know what angers a man who has honorable intentions and honorable desires for his people. I could easily leave Valdosta and walk away. I'm retired. I have no dog in this fight. I've been around the construction business with the railroad for a long time. Watched contracts be given out. Been a part of the process. I could leave today and never look back. With a Master of Education and a Master of Divinity, a Bachelor of Criminal Justice, a long history. The railroad is seeking for me to come back tomorrow. But I stay here and fight. This entire room wants us to believe that black folk have never been discriminated against. I'm angered. I'm highly angered. Because one of the things I've watched across the construction business occur is that the system has always maintained that there were either no blacks capable of doing the job, they could not be bonded, their educational level was diminished, continued to say that there's no discrimination in the system. And yet when you look over the history of Valdosta, you've yet to see from this point backwards blacks in control of anything in this town. Ever. Period. The sad part about it is it will come to our community and seek out the most educated and elevate us to positions and give us just enough more than the average person has so that they're silenced and will never stand for their own people. We have a school board that is predominantly black. I saw you sit here a moment ago and linger over making a decision, and it is the first time in this building that I've ever watched you linger over the decision. When a decision is to be made before the person who asked for a motion or a movement to be made, Mr. Lee's already said so moved. And I've watched this board always unanimously vote the same way, the same time, the same station. We put you here so you would objectively challenge what was wrong, systematically tear down what was wrong, but morally do what was right. Period. We did not come here because a bunch of black people showed up and said, give us work because we're black. Y'all stood up in this room and told the black community, if we supported everything you did, you made a binding agreement that is binding here in the state of Georgia, and I intend to pursue that. See, we've been doing it from a civil standpoint. One thing I've learned about the construction business is that money makes everything go around. I won't accuse you of that in here tonight, but I have seen systematically across the system, somebody's palm always gets greased to look the other way and let the contract manager do as he please. I left here the last meeting believing that you, with all your heart, intended to make sure these men in this room said, if you just, we won't even fight no more. Just let us work. That's all they asked. And you promised that you'd do everything in your power to make sure we go to the work site, they tell us there ain't no jobs. We come talk to you, you say there is. We go to the subcontractors, they tell us to go to the contract manager. We go to the contract manager, he tells us to come to you. These people have children, and their children want to eat. I got 6 children that I pay. I go broke every month paying tuition for 6 children because I'm scared to put them in the public school. Yeah. Now you don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. Scrape and scratch to make sure they have everything they can. Making a meager pastor's salary, which ain't a whole lot. But I learned something about my God. Paul said, for we all know all things. I found that as long as I'm doing the right thing, my God will provide for me. And I have been provided for. But I stand in the gap just like Isaiah did. For these people here tonight that can't speak for themselves. As Pastor said, that baby could not talk because he had a pen in his side. But I can talk. Something's got to get done. And I intend to find out every nook and cranny behind this system. If somebody got some money to look the other way, I'm going to find it out. If somebody didn't do what was right, I will not stop till I find it out. We ask y'all, we keep asking y'all, just...
Pastor, your 5 minutes.
I stand by the same thing Pastor Rose said. Whatever you got to do, you got to do. Because I'm at the point now where black folk can't keep being treated this way. Our children are being killed on the street, and you want us to believe that it ain't because they black. Ain't nobody in this town getting jobs, and you want us to believe because it ain't because we're black. And then you put in the newspaper that black folk just showing up just to get work because we're black. We shook your hand in honesty and have always shook your hand in honesty. And I'm insulted. I'm insulted right now. I'm hurt. You know why I'm hurt? Because I stood in this town just the other night and stood in a store with an Indian man who looked at me, who talks to me on a daily basis when I'm dressed in clergy attire and calls me sir. And because I was in a t-shirt and a pair of shorts, he looked at me and treated me like crap because he didn't realize who he was. And when I challenged him, on how hard my people have worked to try to make this country a good place, he told me it's his turn now. His people are taking over now. That's what he said to me. And I'm angered by it because I stand here with people. I don't stand here tonight just for blacks. I stand here for whites and for blacks. I fought for my country, for white and for black. Not for just blacks. I'm talking for blacks because they don't have a voice and nobody won't listen. And I stood here in honesty. I called Mr. Sherwood, I didn't get a response. We wrote letters, we didn't get a response. We talked to the judge. What does it take? These people just simply say, we want to work. Now you run around saying black folk won't work. You just want to lay up in Hudson Dock and all these other places and just get welfare. That's not so.
Pastor, your time is up.
You can give me the benefit of whatever. If the football coach can stand up and talk for almost 20 minutes over football and y'all ask questions, why can't I?
Pastor, your time is up. We're following the rules. Thank you. Mr. Robinson.
Imagine, just imagine, on page 52 it talks about the New Valdosta High School. Imagine what you just heard. You just heard the facts from both of these gentlemen. And it's time now to quit playing the game and get down to brass tacks and brass business. It's time for you to do what you're required to do. All they're saying is they're expressing their feelings, how we feel. Simple as that. As simple as that. Just imagine, this is your magazine. You're the one got this here. Just imagine what's coming next. It's not a game. It's not a game. I was in the league playing for the civil litigation that lasted 12 years. Manuel Noriega was in the basement. My Jersey footballer out of Miami. It's not a game. It's not time to play. Now, all you have to do is do what they're requesting and asking you to do. There's nothing complicated about that. If you don't do that, that means we've been lied to. Simple. It's plain and simple. And all people want is to work to let the man is saying. Just imagine. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss personnel?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Adjourn.
Excuse me.
Sir.
We need some answers tonight. Somebody got to tell us something tonight. Somebody got to tell us we're going to get back with you or something. We ain't heard nothing. Now, I wrote Mr. Sherwood, never heard from him. Well, I don't know, y'all, somebody got to tell us something tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. Yes, you just call the police, because I'm not moving. Somebody got to tell us something tonight. Just tell us what you're going to do, what you're going to do. You can't keep mistreating black folks like that.
Madam Chair, if you would, Dr. Rose, what we would do is review the information that you've given us tonight.
That went,
And
that man yesterday,
application.
he was the same list that we
So let's
switched
get
him down.
facility, chair, and let's see what, if anything, can be done to assist
Contract told me one thing.
subcontractors.
These men.
Can't make anybody hire anybody, but let's see if we can create a dialogue regardless of the ones that has it, to see if they need help. Let's do that.
Mr. Lee, it's my understanding that this board can do what it wants to. All y'all have to do, and you read the contract, all y'all have to do is tell the major contractors that you want them to sit down with us and find a way out of this. Y'all can do that.
Let's get the
That's all
dialogue.
we asking you to do.
Let's try to get it done.
All right. Thank you very much. So I'm going to hear from somebody?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
You can tell them what I just told you. I can't, the board, I can't consider it alone. People, who will probably consider them, you come out here. Fair enough. That's what you just do. Yes, sir. We're in talks. Sub telling us one thing, sub telling us one thing, contract managers telling another thing. We can bounce back and forth, ain't nobody dealing with us. We go out to the work site, the man dismisses, tell us stay in the meeting. I know they work the way I understand it. That's what understand that too. So pushing us, they sending us to the contract man. The contract man sends us on, and they all send us back to you, which we know you gonna send us back to them.
We're going to do y'all things a lot.
I told Pastor Rose before we got to the job, I said, Pastor, you don't tell us that here. Talk us 5 minutes. He said, wait a minute. Yeah, look at me. I said, I told you.
Yes, sir.
I don't think what I read. I've been told that happened.
You know what he told us? Watch this. Watch this. How long he tell us it would take us to verify that list?
Verify the list.
When we talked about list, he said 2 weeks.
Yeah, Jones.
Yeah, you did say so.
Who'd you talk to?
Brett, no,
The other guy.
Brett Sutton said he hadn't verified the list. Said take us 2 weeks to do that. I said, well, now you had the list a month.
Brett Diamond, who is in charge of this, is the man.
Now do you see what I'm talking about? Brett Sutton said one thing, Brett Diamond says, the subcontractor said one thing, the contractor said another. They sent us to you, you sent us back to them. We bounced around. Part of this thing, we're getting what.
This time we have Pastor Rose, Black Contractors.
Thank you very much, and I won't be long. When we left here last Tuesday a week ago, we left here with the impression that someone would call us and that a meeting would be set up so we could meet with members of the board, and especially those who were responsible for the building and grounds out at the new high school. I met briefly with Mr. Sherwood, and so did Reverend Neal. I understand now that we decided there would be no meeting. If that is the case, I want to know tonight, period, that you have no interest or any intention of meeting with the leadership of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Just tell us plainly, and then we can do what we need to do.
Pastor, at this time, Board, may I? At this time, the decision has been made that we will not be meeting at this time. However, we will discuss, and if a decision is made to meet, and we will, but at this time, we decide that it will not be another meeting at this time.
With respect, Dr. Casey, I don't know what that really means. You're saying that as of now, there will be no meeting between any members of this board and the leadership of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And that's it.
Yes, sir.
Then we will do what we have to do. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Reverend Rose, after all that has been said and all the struggle and addressing the board, they still not going to meet with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and the minority businesses?
The problem is that you've got 4 members of that board that are black. 4. Every vote that put them there was a black vote, period. They have never, ever represented the interests of the people that put them there. Secondly, we have been here for almost 2 years, almost begging for a meeting with them. Why they don't want to meet with us, I don't know. But I do know this, that we will do what we have to do to stop that work out there, period.
One other thing, Brother Rose. So you're not willing to express what that may be?
Well, no, I don't want to say what we're going to do and now. I don't want them to know, and I don't want to tell them anything.
Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem.
This new facility is definitely going to be state of art. It's going to be something that I call it a Taj Mahal. It's going to be something that your eyes want to see. Matter of fact, I was there out at the site today, and just the amount of work that has already been done to get that site cleared and to get the groundwork done, the prep work, and the amount of dirt that is being moved. When that facility is complete, I think the community, I think even county, city, regional, state are going to rave about what our students have.
Let me just say how elated I am to be here at the Gabio, and that we just want to share 1 or 2 things with you. I am Albert E. Love. I am the pastor of Oak Rock Baptist Church in College Park. I'm also the president of the Voter Empowerment Collaborative, and a new organization that we started is about 2 months old called the Green Light Think Tank. But this is what I want us to leave with today. So often in the black community, we don't have a plan. We need money in our community. And so what we are saying is proposing, we black African Americans are 30% of the population of Georgia in terms of citizens. We believe that we ought to get 30% of the contracts and 30% of the state spending. Isn't that reasonable? If we make up 30% of right now, we get less than 2% of all of the contracts in Georgia. So that's one thing. If we make up 30% of right now, we get less than 2% of all of the contracts in Georgia. We get less than 2% of all of the contracts in Georgia. We get less than 2% of all of the contracts in Georgia. We get less than 2% of all of the contracts in Georgia.
Real quickly, I'm William Cannon, and the issue that I lobbied for in the legislature, this is my 29th year, is called economic justice. I chair the economic justice committee for Dr. Lowry's organization, the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda. I hope that you have this handout. If you don't, I'll get one for you after I finish and try to stay within my 5 minutes. The Supreme Court coined an expression that talks about the disparity of money between what is spent and who is spent with. The lines, if you look at this first page down at the very bottom, let me tell you what disparity is. African Americans are third in population of the state and estimated to contribute approximately 23 to 25% of all of the tax dollars that the state of Georgia spends. All right? If you look at the bottom, from this study that was done and produced in 2012, white women are estimated to have received 8.4% of all of the contract dollars. White males receive 87.6% of all of the contract dollars. Combined 96% of all of the contract dollars from the Georgia Department of Transportation on $2 billion during a period of time went to white households. There's if you flip over, and you can look at the rest of this later, if you flip over to the back of that page, this is another very important piece of information. As I was talking to my friend here about whether or not we have black firms that are able to do the work. From this study that was done and produced in 2012, white women are estimated to have received 8.4% of all of the contract dollars. White males receive 87.6% of all of the contract dollars. Combined 96% of all of the contract dollars from the Georgia Department of Transportation on $2 billion during a period of time went to white households. All right? And by the way, they redefined the term women business enterprise to mean white-owned women business enterprise. Some of you may say, well, that's not, shouldn't be right, but it works to our advantage. Because when they look at African American, they're looking at African American men and women together. So when it comes down to it, regardless of whether you're male or female, we're not getting our fair share. That is disparity. So when it comes down to it, regardless of whether you're male or female, we're not getting our fair share. That is disparity. All right, now, when we talk about the utilization, and what they did was they compared what we get. Now, on that front page, they showed us that African American firms got 2.4% of all of the contract dollars. 4% 4% was split between Hispanic, Asians, and African Americans. 4%, because they got the 96%, right? This is simple math, right? American firms got 2.4% of all of the contract dollars. 4% was split between Hispanic, Asians, and African Americans. 4%, because they got the 96%, right? And if you look at that second line, if you look at that first line where I drew it, you'll see under column D, 84%. And you drop down to the African American line, it says 2.4%. Here's where it really gets funky. If you look over to column F, this tells you what the disparity is between how much you had in capability versus how much you got. White women were 3.2% over utilization. Drop down to the African American, where you see that X? African American businesses were 11.7% underutilized. That means that we had the capacity to do 11.7% more. We had the companies, we had the wherewithal, we had what we needed to do more work, but we were underserved and we were left out by 11.7%. Right? This is very simple math. Now, right? And if you look at that second line, if you look at that first line where I drew it, you'll see under column D, 84%. And you drop down to the African American line, it says 2.4%. Here's where it really gets funky. If you look over to column F, this tells you what the disparity is between how much you had in capability versus how much you got. White women were 3.2% over utilization. Drop down to the African American, where you see that X? African American businesses were 11.7% underutilized. That means that we had the capacity to do 11.7% more. We had the companies, we had the wherewithal, we had what we needed to do more work, but we were underserved and we were left out by 11.7%. Right? This is very simple math. Now, when we talk about minority, this is a minority issue. Because if you look at the Hispanics, they were overutilized. And the Asians were on par, essentially. African Americans were the only ones on this piece of paper that were underutilized in double-digit figures, 11.7%. Now, because if you look at the Hispanics, they were overutilized. And the Asians were on par, essentially. African Americans were the only ones on this piece of paper that were underutilized in double-digit figures, 11.7%. Now, we have helped to, last year we had a coalition that we worked hard to try to get minority participation put in House Bill 170 that was increasing the motor fuel tax for that $1 billion in 1 year that's going to be collected for all that work. That we were not successful, but we were able to raise the issue substantially. Currently, State Representative Roger Bruce has House Bill 712, which is a Minority Business Enterprise Program bill, and there's a companion bill in the Senate that was done by Senator Ford. In both cases, they have not come out of committee. Let me take a breath right here and tell you, in one of the committee meetings, and I bear witness, I was there when it happened, one of the white female representatives in the Economic Committee stated, we don't want minority participation because that's going to hurt our white male business. Everybody was dumbfounded, as you were. It's incredible to hear that was said aloud in these intelligent company, etc. If you go down this list, we also have disparity studies, resolution by Senator Henson to fund statewide agencies and commissions across the board. Georgia Procurement Registry, and this is important for all of our legislators here, to counties, and school boards. Right now, it's only state agencies, $10,000 and above. Can you imagine your constituents, if we are successful, how many opportunities they're going to have the opportunity to bid on if we include all the cities, all the counties, and all the school boards, plus all the state agencies in the state of Georgia. Since my time is up, I'll simply say, please look at some of the rest of the issues that we have, and on the back, you will see requests where we are going to meet with the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus on Thursday. We're scheduled, and these are some of the things that we're asking them to support and to do that are not required by legislation. And I will yield well as we say.
And first on our list, we have Mr. Floyd Rhodes.
Thank you very much, and I just want to shake your hand. We haven't always agreed, but I appreciate your honesty and integrity. Usually what we don't understand, we fear. And what we fear, we fight. That's just human nature. If we don't understand it, we fear it, and if we fear it, we fight it. That's one thing I want to see up front. Second thing I'd like to say is that just the other day I was with a group of people from the Equalizer, the tax folks, and I went up there to discuss my taxes, and we got that out of the way. It was lowered by $8,000. And during the course of the conversation, I mentioned that I had a reverse mortgage. There was a white gentleman standing next to me, or sitting next to me. The white woman who was in charge was to my left. The black man was across the seat there, the desk. And so I said I had a reverse mortgage. The white gentleman to my right, mother had a reverse mortgage. And so the lady turned to him and said, tell me a little more about the reverse mortgage. I said, his mother's got it. He ain't got a reverse mortgage. I got one. Why did you ask him? She said, Reverend, I'm so sorry. I said, no, that's okay. I understand, because that's the way it usually works here. If a white person says it, somehow it's supposed to be right. If I say it, somehow it's got to be questioned. Now, I mention that for a reason. It was my understanding, based on what Mr. Lee said and what this board agreed to, that black contractors would be assured of getting some of the contracts, which meant some of the money from the high school, the building of the high school. That was clear to me. We went out and we worked hard to pass the splosh tax thing, because we believed in that. And we didn't just go out and do it just to be doing it. We did it because we were led to believe that blacks would get some of that money. The unemployment rate among blacks in this town is like 17.5% and rising. The unemployment rate among whites is 6.5% and falling. Now there's something wrong with that. And this board, I saw, was committed to fixing that. I hope that you still are. We met with the other contractor that you had several times, and we thought that we had something going with him. And then, of course, there was a change. All I'm here tonight to say is I hope that you do what you committed to do. If you do that, nobody's going to have any problem. If you don't do it, well, and that's all I have to say. And I thank you for my time.
Thank you, Reverend. We have Mr. George Boston Ryan.
I pass. Just
Okay. Mr. Devo?
I pass.
Okay. Mr. Robinson?
Good evening.
Mr. Devo?
How is everybody today? I'm here on behalf of contractors and Port Road, the SCLC, and the Black Business Association. We attended the contractors meeting last night hosted by G.B.R. and Terry for the purpose of getting some input on the contract qualifications and past performance. So many of you were not at the meeting last night to hear what took place on the floor when the announcement was made about our position. Okay? And so many times people get confused about the position that we are taking. And it raised some negative violence last night. I'm here tonight to provide some clarity on our position on behalf of the contractors so that there is no misunderstanding of what we want and what we want to do. We want to be part of the atonement that will set the language for the contract performance and the interest that our interest can be protected. We know that when you guys sit down and negotiate a contract to give to whatever contractor that ended up with the project, that you had to have some form of language in place and you had to have some goals that you set. We never seen none of the goals to know if there is any participation as far as what Mr. Lee was recommending and was saying about the black contractors. And what we want to get a good understanding is that we have a contractor among us, and it's Shine, Prestige, and Pelote. Mr. Pelote is from Savannah, and he is a joint venture with the Shine and Prestige company. And he brought leverage of 55% bonding capacity of the project. And they're going to be bidding multi-components in this. And somehow people are getting misconstrued to understand what is taking place. When the issue came up last night and we brought it up, we had some controversy about it. And one of the gentlemen from Paris made a statement that, having asked the question to the audience, had anyone ever worked under one of these LLCs? That it might not be in the best of the interest. So that means that to us, that was kind of like an insult because we wasn't bringing something for no confusion. And then Mr. Lindsey Jones, he made a statement stating that if you bid with these guys here, perhaps you might not get an opportunity to bid with us because you're bidding with these guys here. Now, no one has no idea who is going to be bidding at the time of the bid. So it's impossible for us to know who's going to be bidding along with these guys if they were in the bid. And then to tell the guys that it's not in the best of their interest if you have to bid with them, you might not be able to bid with us because there's no way of you knowing who's going to be on the bid. So all the guys are doing is bringing is they're bringing 55% bonding capacity and financial stability for any of the contractors that work with them if they were to land the bid. That don't mean they're going to land the bid. But they do have someone that has the empowerment. And to get a negative vibe the way we got last night, it makes it seem as if they are setting the tone for unfairness and exclusion. And we want to make it absolutely clear that if you do find that they is going to participate in the old good old boy network system as far as some exclusions, there are going to be some severe consequences that's going to reflect upon the entire board and perhaps our county and our city. Because we're not going to be excluded from this project, and we are very proud that Mr. Lee stood up on behalf of black contractors. And we come to let you know tonight that it's not nothing about scrutiny. It's not that the guys are coming in to team up and saying we are all one group. They are going to provide a bid. They are bringing 55% capacity of funding and financial stability. They ain't going to follow all the rules and guidelines that's going to be set for the requirements by the board for whatever they decide. We want to be part of the participation in the language that they are claiming that going to set the tone for how we're going to work. When I talked to the architect, he said that the language had not been done. He said that it's going to be based on what you guys decide. So we want to be part. We want our chairman to be a part. We want to work with the designated person that you guys have. We want clarity and understanding. We don't want no misunderstanding that if things don't work right, Now, we want it to work right. Don't get me wrong. We definitely want it to work right. But if things don't work right, there's going to be some consequences that we're going to have to be dealing with. And I want you guys to understand that. We want, yeah.
Your pastor.
All right, well, thank you. Well, I'm going to sit down, but please understand there will be consequences if we don't get something out of this.
Okay, we appreciate your comment.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Hey, is there anything else? Now, Mr. Eva, you signed on the list.
What do you think? Who do you think has the power to break this system? And what do you think needs to be done? Like, who needs to be uniting together, you know?
Thank you very much. You are really nice and you are powerful. That is a powerful question. What could bring about that change is, as I said, if the football games were interrupted.
Because I'll tell you what really helps. The contracts around town are being fairly distributed now, somewhat, at least on the city's behalf. But this contract is the one in which these men just simply want to come in. They've even said, we just want to come in and get a piece of the pie and we'll walk away and hands down. This is an easy fix. It really is.
I'm telling you what I promised you last time, and I stand by that. And I will make sure that making sure that list is accurate. I'll look into what you're telling me, maybe to see into some contract. I don't think it's been the same since 2008 for the last 6 years, 7 years. And I now understand. You won't talk to me into that. You and I. Not in the group. You won't talk to me. You call. Every deal got my number. They got my cell phone number. When you get to the bottom of this, you'll find out that's exactly what I want. If you have any idea how I want this to be different, you realize that you're not on the same page. That much I can tell you now. I can't change the world, but I can make sure that
They told me you were in charge.
I ain't. I'm a facilities committee chairman. That's what I am.
Okay.
Superintendent with Madam Chair's in charge.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna see.
That'd be fine. He's got my phone number. Hey, if I don't answer it, leave a voicemail. I have one. Is that fair enough? Fair enough? Fair enough. All right.
And you don't even talk about man. You couldn't even look me in the face and say he didn't call. I didn't call him.
He said he got my letter, but he said he didn't.
He said he was on vacation.
All he got to do is pick up the phone,
Call. That's what I said, man. Even if let's just say we didn't call you, you got the letter. All you do is call. Yeah. That's what I said. You don't tell me we ain't being discriminated against. We ain't got no job. We ain't never had no job. How you gonna say it ain't because we black?
Let me get over here. I got to take somebody home from the church.
Pastor Neil, could you tell me why, I've been to a lot of these meetings, why did you get so passionate tonight compared to other nights? What really ticked you off?
Well, I got angry because society feels that African Americans are ignorant. And we have been consistently and systematically told that it has nothing to do with who we are or the capabilities that we have or our intellectual capabilities, but simply because we were just a part of a system of chance, that we just didn't get jobs because we didn't get the right bids. The construction game has always excluded blacks. Every major city in this country excludes blacks when it comes to construction management. And it is time that people stand up and simply say we want to be counted. We're good for everything else, but never good to head or to lead agencies or obtain lucrative work that can place us in a financial situation that's better than the typical average person is. Always the janitor, but never the manager. Always the manager, but never the owner. Always the player, but never the owner of the team. It hurts. And as I've always been taught, and I believe that when your motives are pure, when your morals are right, when you decide that you're going to do what's right, then simply put, God will be with you. My anger is there for the people. I don't even have a dog in the fight. But somebody has to be a voice for people who won't speak for themselves or can't speak for themselves. And I got angry because I'm tired of being told over and over and over it has nothing to do with what I look like, but simply because it just fell the way it was. That's not possible. That this community can never have blacks that head up these construction jobs. It's not possible that we can have all of these lucrative positions go about and we never even be considered in the running for these jobs. It's just not possible.
Pastor Neil, you painted the picture so clear tonight because you talked about Valdosta positions of leadership. When it comes down to blacks, we don't own anything in this city. It seems like nothing is going to change in this community. This very school board that you are speaking with tonight was under a 40 or 50 year desegregation order, really, by the Department of Justice, and it took near 40 to 50 years to get out from under it. And now, from what I'm hearing from some of the teachers in these schools, including blacks with PhDs, talking about there's still a major injustice right here at this school. Yet the Department of Justice have turned this system loose, not to mention Lowndes County High School. And so my question to you once again, in your response tonight, you seem to paint a picture that is different from other people who live in this community. And so how can some people see one thing and you see another?
Simply because they've gotten used to a status quo. In this community, they typically take blacks that are educated, give them more than just what the average person has, and put them in a situation where they're dependent on the system and their voice is silenced. They can't speak out, they can't say anything back, they can't stand up for themselves. And those that are below those people simply just don't know that the system is tainted.
Let me interrupt you. With all your credentials, I heard you talk about education, I heard you talk about the railroad job, that we're in some, especially blacks, would love to have a job such as that. I also heard you talk about the police department and your law enforcement experience. But with all of that information under your belt, what, and you answer part of it in there, but I want to take it to the next level. What do you say to the person who may say to you, which I've experienced myself, we hear these same black people who may be sitting on the Board of Education, who may be in law enforcement, who may have a PhD sitting under a person with a master's degree at these schools. They will tell us behind closed doors, or they will tell us in the bathroom in the commode with the lid top closed, how they feel about an unjust system, but they cannot speak it publicly because they would lose their job. I'm sure that you've been confronted with that. And if you have, and if you're not, so state. But let us help clear the air so people will understand that we have blacks in the positions of power as well as white people who want to tell the truth, but they can't.
We're in a system of tyranny where there are people who are in positions of power who are afraid to lose their jobs. So simply put, they either ignore the system and ignore what is going on and simply never state what is wrong. I have received phone calls from some of these same said people who are in higher positions that are African Americans that have called and asked me to simply just tone down some, not ruffle the feathers of other people, or simply stop speaking out against the system because while the system's not fair, the system has always worked. Well, I'm just indifferent from them and I believe differently. that the system is broken and that the system can be changed. And that once we learn that we can speak out against what's going wrong, and that if we stand together, the system will have to change. I have been subject to some of the same rules and laws of discrimination. I've applied to plenty of positions around this town. I've either been told that I'm overqualified, or simply put, someone else that's much younger has greater qualifications than I have, despite the fact that I have over 25 years in the workforce with 2 advanced degrees and a bachelor's degree, and have worked in three fields in which I've also worked in corporate management. I've been excluded from a lot of the application processes simply because I speak out.
Okay. This is my last question to you, my very last question, but it's the most important question I feel that I can ask tonight. Number one, after Rose highlighted about a baby in the baby crib crying because of pain that others do not see, all right, then for you to step up and the same remarks be given to you that was given to Reverend Rose, the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, your time is up. And they said the same thing to you. Your time is up. But to me, under our form of government, if we have a heartbeat issue that is at the core of a group of people, then it seems to me, if necessary, they ought to extend it for 30 additional minutes so they can hear the real cries from the people. After all, a lot of the violence that we see across this nation, as well as the world, because they don't ask, why did you do what you do when you did it? So why would they just not grant you the few minutes for you to finish what you had to say? Because Rose was willing to go to jail, and I'm sure that you was willing to go to jail too. But thinking about the situation of this place, you took your seat. And let's close it out on that point.
They're not willing to hear what is really going on because they have to appear as if they've given us due process or at least some form of process of speaking out publicly, because that's what the rules state. But I believe that they really weren't interested in hearing what I had to say. They gave the football coach last week almost 20 minutes to speak about the football team and what each football player was doing and the nutritious diet that they're receiving and the different plays that they will run this year and what he felt his strategy would be against the versus the outgoing coach, as well as the other teams that we will play. They were more interested in football and what was going to happen with our stadium and the spirit of the school in terms of athletics. But when it comes to the heartbeat and the pulse of the people, what they basically told me is that we don't count. We're a part of Valdosta. The school is predominantly black. The football team is predominantly black. When we asked that they consider hiring black coaching staff, there was a big fuss made. When we asked that they would hire a black head coach, there was a fuss made. And now that we're fussing about jobs within the African American community, there's still a fuss being made. And the idea is that if we can shut the voice down, we can offer with one hand an opportunity to speak and then shut the voice down in the meat of the argument. Then the argument's never heard. The newspapers report exactly what is not being stated here. And that is not that African Americans showed up and said, give us jobs because we're black, but because we actually went through the process and was excluded from the process through means that were not just, means that were not morally sound and right, and they're not willing to hear that we have a grievance. They're foregoing any form of logical grievance that could resolve this issue, and it's going to require us to go to the courts to solve it.
One other question. Why do you think that the news media, the newspaper, Valdosta Daily Times, and this is about the only board, I'm traveling 18 to 16 cities, and this is about the only, no, it's not the only, but it's one of several cities that definitely seems like the news media, I'm talking about TV cameras, are unconcerned about the building of this new school, because we don't see them at the meetings. I go to Gordon, and at least sometimes 3-4 cameras from different locations in the Middle District of Georgia be there to keep the people informed. Here again, it's one-sided, but at least they be there. But here in Valdosta, now how many TV cameras did you see?
None.
None. And it mostly be like that at other meetings.
Exactly.
And so it seemed like, do you not know, I'm going to put the question, why do you think that the people in Valdosta can't even watch what go on at Georgia legislature, the Georgia General Assembly, because the TV station will pick up Florida State House, but will not present to the majority of people here in Lowndes County what goes on in Atlanta. And somebody brought that to my attention. I went to MediaCom and talked to them. They said some kind of regulation. So when you have black people on this end of the state, that it's just totally living in ignorance.
Well, I'll tell you what part of the issue is. Part of the issue is that discrimination is an issue here. It is an issue of discrimination. It is a system that has never disappeared. It's been revamped, reformed. It is still alive and well. I will say that not everybody subscribes to racism, but there is a sense of racism that still exists. And so with that stated, no one, I believe, here wants to acknowledge that it's still here, that it still exists. Morgan Freeman made a statement on TV that if we quit talking about it, that it will go away. Well, I'm of the school of another thought. I believe that until we actually sit down and dialogue, and that we find out that we're all of God's children, no matter what color or race we are, that we will find out that then and only then will the problem go away. When we learn that African Americans make up a great portion of this county, actually make up the majority of this county, when we realize that African Americans have a lot to contribute to society and have always contributed a lot to society, when we realize that we love this country just like everybody else does, then we will begin to close that gap and realize that we're all a part of Lowndes County. We're all a part of what makes us a good place. But until we talk about it, this problem will continue to exist, and it's going to get worse, but not in a way in which I think they've ever seen before. I think we're about to turn, we're about to see, I think the response that's going to come from the people is not going to be as favorable as they think in terms of how race relations continue. I think that we need to really sit down and dialogue with each other and talk about what is going on and take efforts to prevent anything that could go out of the way.
And would you not think that Roy Taylor perhaps summed it up the best, that it's just not black people involved in this? Because this is hurting white kids as well as black kids.
It's hurting everyone. And the reason it became an issue of African Americans simply because the African American community was approached and asked to support. And asked to support in big numbers, and we have participated, and when it was time to receive any of the proceeds and rewards of the labor, we were simply excluded, as we've always been, and told that, I can take it all the way back to the issue of 40 acres and a mule. In this country, if I don't pay the bank, they take my house. In this country, if I make a binding agreement, then I'm liable for damages. This country made a pact with the African American people that they would restore them and they would pay restitution. And our United States government has never made restitution to African Americans. It is something that we cannot ignore. It is simply something that we cannot just continue to pretend doesn't exist.
Okay, thank you very much. And what's your name again?
Darren Neal.
You're a pastor in the community?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
This new facility is definitely going to be state of the art. It's going to be something that I call it a Taj Mahal.
Who do you think has the power to break this system? And what do you think needs to be done? Like, who needs to be uniting together,
Thank you very much. You are really nice and you are powerful. That is a powerful question. What could bring about that change is, as I said, if the football games were interrupted, if these people find a way to not play football until some change come to Valdosta. In fact, I believe that sports perhaps is the only way that real change is going to come here.
How do you say that?
I say that because right now we are known around the nation as Titletown, USA. But we are not only Titletown in football in terms of producing good football players. We are also Titletown when it comes to unsolved murders and killings, unsolved deaths in the jail. They say they have rats as big as cats in the jail. So perhaps we also have the title for having the biggest rats in any jail. So when they talk about Titletown, I think that football and those who benefit from the game, once the games are boycotted, I don't like the word boycotted, but it may have to be done. So a lot of this change gonna have to come through black folks taking on the initiative, along with white people who want to see change and foster in change. So the bottom line, and bringing it home again, the power of breaking this system is in the hand of the people who can show the people in the state of Georgia that we are not back in the 1800s.
This new facility is definitely going to be state of art. It's going to be something that I call it a Taj Mahal. It's going to be something that your eyes want to see. Matter of fact, I was there out at the site today, and just the amount of work that has already been done to get that site cleared and to get the groundwork done, the prep work, and the amount of dirt that is being moved. When that facility is completed, I think the community, I think even county, city, regional, state are going to rave about what our students have.
I get yours over here before I can, well, let's get the rubber rolls.
These are people that are coming to the Board of Education meeting tonight. This is the Ghetto Free Press, Reverend Rose, Reverend Robinson, another minister here. And of course, we also see some people have signs outside.
I'd like to call to order the Valdosta Board of Education regular meeting for March 8, 2016. At this time, we have an invocation by Ms. Wilson.
Bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight praising your power and your holy name. Through your great gifts, grace, and mercy, we receive all gifts, and we thank you for it. Lord, we ask that you give us wisdom in making wise decisions. We ask that you keep the forefront of the children always on our minds. Lord, we thank you for the many blessings that we receive, for the many wonderful opportunities that we can offer the students of our system as well as our employees. Lord, we also ask that you forgive sin. We ask that you forgive our trespasses. We ask that you forgive the mistakes. Lord, we come to you tonight hoping that we can always remember to build a better future for the children of this system. In your son's precious name we pray. Amen.
How about that?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to say good afternoon, good evening, and thank you for coming, and we appreciate your interest in our children's education. Participation.
Madam Chair, Board, I will read public participation guidelines and rules. Regulation for public participation, 30 minutes will be set aside at the Board of Education meetings for public comment. This time limit may be increased at the board's discretion. Persons who wish to speak at a meeting must sign in prior to the meeting stating name and topic of discussion. The following rules for addressing the Board of Education shall apply. Up to 2 persons may speak on each side of an issue. Each speaker shall be limited to 5 minutes. Personnel issues shall not be discussed in open meeting except as provided by federal, state, and local law and policy. References to an employee must be made in the terms teacher, administrative employee. Persons who refuse to follow acceptable rules of conduct may be removed from the meeting. Person speaking must address the Board of Education rather than the audience. At this time, the first person for public participation is Pastor Floyd Rose, topic Black Contractors.
Thank you, Superintendent. First of all, I want to thank you and this board for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. And I want to say that neither I nor any members of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference or its supporters should be seen as your enemies. We are not the enemies of this board, and we're certainly not the enemies of the children of this district. We're here because we want not only the best for them, but for their parents, some of whom are black contractors. And to deny work to them is to deny their children. It is our understanding that you decided to allow your white lawyer to speak for you, and he has spoken. And he has decided not to allow you to talk with us. I'm sure you know that your lawyer can defend you, but can't be a defender for you. He didn't vote you into office, and he cannot vote you out of office. I want to say to my black brother and my black sisters who are here tonight and who are on this board, you have not only hurt your own people, but you have all of you disappointed us. You're here because of the vote of your black brothers and sisters, and you were sent to the board because we all thought that you would represent us. You have failed the black contractors, and you have failed the black voters who put you here. Black contractors are being denied contracts for which they're qualified, and that is morally wrong, and it is grossly unfair. Blacks are still at least 17.5% of the unemployment population, but 51% of the city's population, while the white unemployment rate is only 6.5% and falling, and their general population is 44%. And this board, through the senior member, made a commitment to the black contractors and the black community that blacks would receive a significant amount of the contracts and work allocated in the $80+ million to build a new high school. As of your last meeting, according to a letter that I received from the superintendent's office, blacks received less than 1% of 1% of the contracts. Now, I understand that the board is proud to say that you have given contracts to minorities, which means white women and Hispanics. So blacks should be satisfied. Well, let me be clear about something. It wasn't white women and it wasn't Hispanics who got out here and beat their feet in the streets, knocked on doors, and got the passage of the splash bill that made it possible for that school to be built. Blacks did it. Blacks did it. And yet, somehow, we have gotten left out of the major equation. That is not right. It is wrong. And there is no way under heaven that we're going to stand by and just watch that happen without responding to it. And finally, 80% of the students who will be attending the new high school will be black. Their parents, many of them, are black contractors, as you will see tonight. And they should get a significant amount of the work for which they are qualified. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Pastor. Next we have Dr. Gerald Williams, NAACP, Black Contractors.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Again, thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you this evening. I will be brief, I will be eloquent, and I will be seated. I'm raised to introduce the National NAACP is currently forming in order to start addressing some issues, and we come to want to introduce ourselves, that we are in that Reformation, but also to stand with our brother and sister in the SALC on this matter. I think above all, what we desire is transparency in this situation and equitability for all that's involved. Surely we cannot turn back the wheels of time to revisit some things, but surely as we move forward, as we look at some items, and particularly those who are represented here, there are certainly still opportunities in any legal matter or constitutional matter that you will want to look at to still provide ways to funnel funds to our black contractors, as Reverend Rose said, particularly many of those who are parents and have children. As the invocation, Ms. Wilson said, that we are here first for our children. Well, we cannot be here for our children. We are not there to support the parents who will send our kids to these schools. And so as we begin to get ready more on this situation, it is our hope that we will foster a close working relationship in order that we can, as we move forward, making sure that everyone is treated fairly and everyone is treated equitably on any issue as it pertains to blacks in this county. And so with that, I again say thank you for your time and hope to be seeing you all in the near future.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Next we have Travis Cox, contractor.
Good evening. How's everybody doing this evening? As you know, I'll pretty much say I'll just start off where I left the last time. From the aspect of, you guys just dropped the ball on us. You brought us up and you just let us all down. In my fact-finding mission, I found that JCI Parish, from their initial point that was written in the paper, they were only supposed to receive somewhere in the area of a little bit over $1 million to supervise this project. In this contract agreement that you guys agreed upon, they have a profit overline showing here of somewhere in the area of $2.2 million. Can anybody explain that? No explanations? And also, when you guys came to us and asked us for all these things that you wanted, we provided. You didn't provide us with anything. At this present time, with the numbers I've calculated, G.B.R. Parish is going to walk away with this job in excess in their pocket anywhere from $9 to $13 million. Money that they've manipulated in this contracts agreement between you guys, that y'all accepted, and we don't think it's right. You know, there's a movie out of many years ago called the Harper Valley PTA. You remember that movie? I'm pretty sure most of you guys remember that. That movie showed what the people in the community could do when their elected officials aren't able to do what the constituents are asking for. And we would hate to have to resort to something of that nature when all you had to do was do what you were supposed to do in the beginning. And none of you did. None of you. You asked, you gave, you took. Now you're about to let $50 million of these hard taxpayers' money walk out of the city. Do you know how much economic impact $50 million could do to Miles County over a 2-year course? When I did the new South home over there, West 4th Street, out of my crew, cars were bought, clothes were bought, all here locally, with our money. But you would instead let $50 million of these hard taxpayers' money just walk out of it. Why and how? Why is that? Can anybody answer that? I'm pretty sure you can't because you don't want to. But this is not morally right. You should know that this was wrong. For you to come to your constituents and ask for things, and then you do not do what you're supposed to do. We as a community, we as a people are tired of things like this. I do understand that some of the stuff you guys may not have been familiar with. You should have probably went to, got an outside consulting firm to help you along in these situations, but you didn't. You took something that is going to cost this city for the next 30 years, paying this money back. This is a lot of money you're going to get away. And it's not just for the aspects of the minority community. It's for the whole community as a whole. You just said a few months ago in your comment about it will be good between a good public thing. This was a great public idea. This was. You know, it was heartfelt time, effort, money put into this for our kids, for our city, for us being Wildcats. And you just dropped the ball on us. It's like you just really didn't care about what you were going to do to the economic development of this city. $50 million is a lot of money that could have helped a lot of people in this town. But yet still you would rather see that money go away to someone else. It's not going to do anything for anybody here. But you agreed to it. My dad told me a long time ago, sometimes I don't see how people can sleep at night when they know they've mistreated somebody. And it took me a long time to understand that. But now I see it. It's kind of hard for you guys to go to sleep at night knowing that you just stabbed your constituents in the back like that. And it's a sad thing. But we have to pay for it. We do. Your taxes went up just as well as ours did. But you guys will reap the benefits. Then we won't get anything. But a big deal. It's going to take a long time to pay for it. My understanding, I think if you had to pull out a bond, you think about 30 years? 30-year bond to pay for this? If I'm correct. You know how much interest there is on $80 million for 30 years? That's a lot of money. Who has to pay for that? You know? Your children's 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 children. But you guys sit around and you don't really think about the things in which you think. You know, this contract that you signed between G.B.R. Parish, it's probably one of the worst I've ever seen in my life. There's things in here that it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that you dropped the ball on. When you know all you had to do was just say, wait, let's take a little moment and take a look at this.
And obviously, your 5 minutes are up. We appreciate your comments. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have Susan Willing.
Yep. First, I'd like to suggest that in the future, maybe before you adjourn to the executive session, that you let people talk. Because it's really hard to wait here for an hour. I mean, it would just be nice if we could talk before you guys met in your executive session. You know, do your work session and let us meet. Okay, so I would just like to suggest that. So I really agree with what's been said so far. I found it really disheartening, but I haven't had time to come to a meeting yet, but we're celebrating Black History Month in the schools, and that the school board is giving our contract to all white people. That is very problematic to me. I have been working here for 20 years.
That's right.
And in the Valdosta City Schools, I have 4 children, and I know there are many children whose families need help. And the fact that you are not giving any Black contractors work, or that you're working with JC, I don't know who's in charge of not giving them any part of that contract, but if we're ever going to get out of our ranking of the 4th poorest city in the United States, we have got to employ the people in the community. And you have an excellent chance to do that. And I'm just really blown away that we just had a vote. And had I known the vote was going to go this way, I wouldn't have voted as I voted, because I really trusted you all. I always hear how much you care about the children. Well, care about their parents. Don't say, oh, well, parents aren't involved, and oh, parents aren't doing their job. Well, you're not doing your job, so how can you expect parents to care if you all don't care about the parents? I mean, it's blown away, blown away. You all know the data on the economics of this town. You know the data on the over 13% unemployment in the African American community. You know about the children that need help in this school district, in this town. I can tell you that the architects that you've hired before and the contractors, I've gone to ask for $25 for a t-shirt or for a race that I've done or a school project. And guess what? They told me no. They couldn't help me. I was like, what? Did we just give you $1 million contract? Previous architects, the one that did, I'm not going to mention names because I don't want it in the paper, but I asked, could you at least donate a drinking fountain to the school playground because there aren't any and the kids are hot? No, can't do that. So I think about who you're giving the contracts to, because I feel like local people would support the teams, the children, the playgrounds, etc. And I would really hate, because I've just been through it at PSU twice, I would really hate for this to blow up into a bigger picture and to get the national NAACP involved when we don't need to go that route. We need to build up Valdosta, build up the schools, and we need to do it by being equitable in our hiring all across the board. You've done a great job on hiring at schools and making that ratio better, and I'm just begging you please to reconsider this contract where 80% of the children will be African American so that we can help raise the standard across the board and be the city that I know that we are. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Whalen. Next we have John Robinson.
Hi, everybody.
Robinson, how are you, sir?
Fine. You've heard tonight all of the cries. You heard people bring you all the expressions of an oppressed community. And all of it have been self-explanatory. And it's something you guys can do about it. Now, I understand that you done took the position that everything is in the hands of your attorneys. How do we get to that point that we can't have a discussion? You know, the Constitution says we the people that's paid. And, you know, the line is clearly drawn in the sand. And you guys is taking it for granted. But it's not the end of this. It's by no means. We got lawyers, we got attorneys too. And they're not this, you know, I don't want you to sit back and feel like this is going to go away. We understand all the logistics that you awarded contracts and you don't want to go back and take contracts back from guys and this kind of thing here. So you got that to deal with. And you're going to have that to deal with. It's not no ifs and ands about this. This is factual. It's not over. It's a long ways from in. It was just the beginning. And I want you to get prepared for it because we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that you have a frustrating time dealing with school because we understand the need for children and all of that. But when you get to a community that's oppressed, black community that's in oppression. It's been this way for years and years and years. And every time we get an opportunity to do something, this is the results that we always end up with. And this is what we call a no-no. It's not just, listen, let me see, can I make it a little bit clearer? A bird without feathers cannot fly, okay? And this bird don't have any feathers. It's a bird, but it don't have any feathers. It can't fly. And it's not going to be tolerated on this go around here. So, you know, we brought you guys what you asked for. We're trying to deliver these spots. When this is the deal we get. Now, I'm not going to go over everything that people went over because they told you, I know you heard, I know you understood. And I hope you understand that the bird without the feathers don't fly. And I hope you understand that very clearly. It's not going to go this time. And we're going to do everything in our power to see that you guys don't succeed. Because this is bad. This is terrible. This is no good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Professor. Darren Neal. I apologize. Please forgive me.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Jason, I want to piggyback off what Pastor Rose said. We are certainly not your enemy. I attended a banquet that you spoke at, and it was a very eloquent speech. I was very impressed at how much you sound like Dr. King. It brought tears to my eyes because I listen to his speeches quite often. I listen to We Shall Overcome quite often. And I do believe we will overcome at some point. You mentioned in your speech freedom. And you mentioned about freedom reigning and that every man should be afforded freedom.
Yes.
I believe the greatest of all freedoms is through Christ Jesus. But in this country, this U.S. of A., the greatest freedom we have is economic freedom. When a man is able to work hard with his hands, receive his pay, and be able to take care of his children as he sees fit, as a good, red-blooded American should, economic freedom is the greatest freedom besides salvation in this country. With that stated, I challenge you on this situation to pay close attention to your own words that you spoke at that speech.
Amen. Amen.
You cannot piggyback off Dr. King's words.
That's right.
And then turn around and ignore his words in the same city.
Yes.
The men and women who came here did not come here as your letter misrepresents. You sent us a letter stating that the contractors overbid. But when this thing initially began, you told the contractors that our bids were so low that they were detrimental and that they were scary and that the bid, that there was not enough money presented. It does not take a rocket scientist to realize that there's some deception going on somewhere in this process.
All right.
Now, I researched JCI Parish, both companies, and both have a history of picking the contractors, subcontractors that they choose and want when they want, and they have a frequency of working with the same people no matter what the bid system is.
We got the paperwork right here.
And you have some intelligent people in this room, and I'm sure you've heard some intelligent minds in this room. And as John Robertson said, this fight will not go away. You've alleged that set-asides were unlawful. And by your own local government, your own local rules, yes, they are. If the funds were local and state funds. But the federal government states that when we give you money, and there's some federal money attached to it, that you must follow the federal guidelines. And there must be a minority goal involved. There's no way around it. And so basically what you're telling every one of these people in this room, after you stated so eloquently in the last meeting that there's no black contractor that could do this kind of work, and it was already proven that the very building we're in was done by black hands. And practically most America has been built by black hands.
Wow.
1965 is still going on today, but just in a whole different color. All we're asking you to do, that while the time is still at hand, while we're able to still approach the table and still able to say, let's figure out how to make this work, take that time to do so right now. The federal government, I contacted them. And they stated that set-asides are not unlawful when it comes to their money. And that you can put money aside. And that you can, there's two forms of set-asides that they stated that they operate by. Well, I took it upon myself to research the case law, which center around set-asides. Set-asides are legal. There are a lot of companies that are going to court and saying that they're unlawful and unconstitutional, but the Supreme Court has ruled over and over and over, case after case after case, that when federal monies are involved, that minorities cannot be left out. The freedom you spoke of, if you take the totality of this situation, you have African American citizens in this town, and everybody is represented but us. Everybody. I can't sit by and have somebody tell me that it's raining and you know the rest of it.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Yes, sir. All right.
Last speaker is George Boston Rhymes.
I will be brief. I'm embarrassed on the subject that I want to speak on. I'm embarrassed because I am a retired military veteran, and I didn't address it at the last board meeting because I thought that someone would get back with me. However, I will say this evening, is that when parents who have served their nation and they take their children to the school systems, and when they look up on the flagpole and their son or daughter, their mother or father, serve the National Guard, from which they could be called into active duty and possibly lose their life. So it is an embarrassment to go to a school and the Georgia state flag is not displayed on that school system. In fact, it is disgrace, and it makes me feel bad to come to the Board of Education meeting and don't see the Georgia flag displayed here. Because these people serve their nation. We say that we love our veterans and active duty retired disabled military veterans. But it is indeed something wrong when we see that in our governmental meetings. Now, this is not a criticism of you, of the board. I think it's a reflection of all of us who live here. Our sons and our daughters fight for this nation. And I believe that when you talk about the federal government, the state government, city government, they all have flags. And this is not just Valdosta. I go to many cities and I see the same thing. I'm going to take my seat now. Just give you all something to think about, and if you all see fit, maybe you want to put the Georgia flag up here. After all, when a person going to the National Guard, they represent the state, but if they are called to go in combat, then that pushes it up to this one. They can lose their life. It's just right to do right. Thank you very much.
Who do you think has the power to break this system? And what do you think needs to be done? Like, who needs to be uniting together, you know?
Thank you very much. You are really nice and you are powerful. That is a powerful question. What could bring about that change is, as I said, if the football games were interrupted.
Who do you think has the power to break this system? And what do you think needs to be done? Like, who needs to be uniting together, you know?
Thank you very much. You are really nice and you are powerful. That is a powerful question. What could bring about that change is, as I said, if the football games were interrupted.